Yes, the New York Mets. They clinched the postseason. Francisco Lindor with the heroics to get the job done in Game 1 against the Atlanta Braves. They give us a stress-free Game 2 to the point where I can go live and do this podcast. So thank you, Lindor. Thank you to the Mets. We're gonna get into them in just a moment. But on top of the Mets making the postseason, and quite frankly, what I think should be high expectations for them, we're going to be talking about the Yankees postseason expectation. Aaron Judge, a 211 hitter in the playoffs. That's got to change. And it's got to change now because if Yankees fans want Juan Soto to come back, they are going to need to do big things in the playoffs and not just big things like make the ALCS. They need to win the World Series, quite frankly. And I'm rooting for the Mets, obviously, but the Yankees, they should win the World Series with the lineup they have. They have Garrett Cole. They have Aaron Judge. They are not getting any younger. Now is the time for the Yankees. We're going to get into that. We're going to be talking Knicks, Karl Anthony Towns. A few days ago, right when it happened, I, like a lot of Knicks fans, were very upset to see Julius Randle and Dante both leave New York. But at the end of the day, Cat is Cat. He's better than both those guys. And we do have the best starting five in basketball with Cat now. He's a 40% career three-point shooter, 10 rebounds a game career-wise, over 22 points scored a game. Cat is legit with Brunson. We have an elite duo. And with Bridges and Anunoby at the wing, the Knicks really might just have the best starting five in basketball. Believe the hype. And then Giants and Jets. Robert Saleh could be on the hot seat already. And the Giants, are they really a quarterback away like Colin Cowherd said last week? We're going to be talking about his comments on the Giants. Is Daniel Jones, do they need to move on from him? I don't know. I really don't. I think I need to see more because let's be real, guys. You could say they didn't put the ball in the end zone all you want last week against the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. But when you actually watch the game, Malik Neighbors had a few drop passes that were crucial. Wan'Dale Robinson as well. So, and they both had great games. 100% they had great games, but in crucial spots, Jones did lay the ball on the numbers or try to put the ball in their hands, and it did hit him in the hands, and they just dropped it. So we're going to be getting into all that, but we're going to be getting started with the New York Mets clinching a postseason spot. Thank you, Francisco frickin' Lindor, with probably a career game, topping off a career year with the New York Mets. Probably the best year of his entire I think 8-year career now. 273 batting average this year with an 844 OPS, 33 home runs, and 91 RBIs on the year. Let's see right now against the Braves, it's still 1-0, top three. And you know what? Quite frankly, I don't give a damn what happens this game. Mets could lose as long as Lucchesi he's at 97 pitches right now, so they're probably going to pull him sometime soon. But who knows? Throw Eddie Alvarez. I don't know. Literally, because I want to save these bullpen guys. And, let's stick to Lindor right now because Lindor, with the season he's having, with the red hot streak he's on, with the red hot streak the Mets are on in general, you got to be confident going into the playoffs. Because if this is the version of Lindor that I've always talked about it since the Mets have traded for Francisco Lindor, I said if we get the best version of Francisco Lindor, the Mets could be World Series contenders. And quite frankly, I don't give a damn that they didn't win 90 games this year because guess what? They're the hottest team in baseball going into the playoffs. And people always say it. You just got to get hot at the right time in MLB. And the Mets are hot at the right time. In 2022, we sucked going into the playoffs. We get swept by the Braves. We fall flat on our face. We give up the NL East. We go into the wild card round. And what do? The bats are silent. Well, right now, the bats are going. The pitching is on top of it right now. The bullpen, outside of Edwin Diaz struggling recently, I'm pretty confident in this bullpen. And I'm also confident in Francisco Lindor. We have a guy like we had in 2015 going into the playoffs where we were like, hell yeah, we got a guy that we can depend on in the lineup. And that was Cespedes back then. This year, it's Lindor. Because in 2022, Lindor and Alonso were both having great seasons, but they were silent at the end of the year, including Jeff McNeil, who won a batting title that year. Even Brandon Nimmo, who had a great year. They were all silent heading into the playoffs. But this year, Lindor, he's on a tear. He's been playing like an MVP. He's had the best year of his entire career. And Nimmo, he's also on a tear too. His home run was a big hit in the game against the Braves today. So you got to give him credit. Ever since he told Mets fans to come out in that last homestand, he's really been providing. So you got to give him credit. And if we get a hot Brandon Nimmo, a hot Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, obviously you'd liked him to perform. But if we get those two guys performing, we're going to take off. We are going to take off. It remains to be seen who we play yet. If we win this game, I believe we're going to San Diego, which I don't want based off what happened 2 years ago, and there would be we'd be at San Diego as well. But then again, if we lose, which I think will happen, we're going right back to Milwaukee, and I believe it starts tomorrow. Yeah, playoff baseball starts tomorrow for the Mets. Yep, playoff baseball starts tomorrow, guys. So I'm probably going to head over to Dick's after this podcast probably and try to grab a few Mets playoff shirts because I'm a big playoff merch guy. I'm a big playoff merch guy. But yeah, since June 1st, the Mets have been the hottest team in baseball. 65-39 going into game 2 against the Atlanta Braves. Probably going to be 65-40, but most wins since June 1st. The Mets have been the best team in the second half this year. We're hot at the right time. Lindor is driving in runs out of the leadoff spot, which is insane. To have 91 RBIs, and he's been hitting leadoff since middle of May, you got to give him props, dude. I know Ohtani hit 50-50, and he's going to walk away with the MVP. But Lindor, he's no doubt in my mind the second – if he doesn't get second in MVP voting this year, I don't know. I would lose all respect for MLB writers, man. I really would. I get it, Ohtani, the MVP, 50-50, whatever. But at the end of the day, you take Ohtani off the Dodgers, they're still making the playoffs. You take Lindor off the Mets. I mean, we just saw it like a few hours ago. Mets don't make the postseason. Literally, if Lindor wasn't in the lineup today, the Mets wouldn't have made the playoffs because they're losing this game 1-0, and they're not even trying to win. Yeah, they are. Yeah, so I mean, if they were trying to win this game, they'd hopefully win, but I don't think they would. But yeah, Lindor, he's hot at the right time. Mets are hot at the right time. So the Mets, I think we got to expect a little bit more going into this playoffs. At the end of the day, going into the year, if you would have said to any Mets fan, hey, if they make the playoffs, would that be a success? Yes, it would have been a success. Because going into this year, we all knew that it's a middle of the road year. We don't know what's going on. Are we going to be in a rebuilding year and hopefully get the prospects to perform? Guys like Mark Vientos, who did have a great year. Like, I know he's been struggling as of late, but you look at his year numbers, Vientos is a guy it's only up from here now. His ceiling is very high in this league for a guy that hit over 25 home runs in really his first year. Let's be real. Last year was his rookie year, but this is the first year he really got a shot to play every day. And boy, he proved a lot of people right, because a lot of Mets fans were like, Vientos can hit. And boy, he can hit. And I think a lot of people were starting to lose faith in him, not even because of the talent, but just because it seemed like the Mets were hesitant to give him a shot. And now he took it and he ran with it, man. So you got to give him credit. We got a third baseman, man. We do have a third baseman, maybe first baseman. It depends what Pete Alonso does in the playoffs. We're going to be talking about that in just a bit. But in the playoffs, I think you gotta raise your expectations for these Mets. I mean, can we beat the Brewers? If we lose, it looks like we're going to be facing the Brewers. And I do think we can beat the Brewers. I really do. I mean, we get past the Brewers, then who do we face after that? It looks like we would end up facing. Well, actually, we really wouldn't know. Depends who wins the Padres-Braves series. But yeah, I do think we can get past the Brewers in the wild card round. I really do. And then from there, I mean, we're really in the mix. I mean, the wild card round is really what you got to get out of. You get out of the wild card round and you have a shot. And with the way the Mets have been pitching so far in the second half, they've been phenomenal. One of the best pitching rotations in baseball. I mean, David Peterson just the other night against Milwaukee, he was a stud, an absolute stud. I know they beat us 6-1, but David Peterson threw a one-hitter the other night, 7 innings, 8 Ks, and Peterson all year long in 21 starts this year, he's been a beast. Arguably the most consistent, maybe the best pitcher since he's been in the rotation. So in 21 games this year, 10-3 record, only 3 losses in 21 games. That's insane. 2.9 ERA. And he wasn't really a strikeout guy, but now he kind of is as of late. 101 Ks and 121 innings of work. But in his most recent outing, 8 Ks. Before that, against Philly, he kind of struggled. But against Philly on September 15th, he had 6. And then even against Boston on September 3rd, 11 Ks. So, this is a guy who's up in his strikeout rate. He's really excelling this year. And, he's only 29 years old. So, I mean, I'm not saying, that's young, of course, but I'm saying he's only 29 years old. So he's not 30. He's a left-hander. He was a first-round draft pick. Maybe he really is finding himself in the league. And I trust him going into the playoffs. I think he's going to be a usable asset. And I think he's going to be a part of this playoff rotation. There's no doubt in my mind he should be part of this playoff rotation, and he probably will be. And speaking of playoff rotation, I think that's one of the reasons that we got to raise our expectations, because when you look at the playoff rotation, that's something you're confident in. And, 2 years ago, or really a year and a half ago, you tell me, hey, after the Mets traded Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, and then DeGrom is gone, obviously. In 2024, are you confident if the Mets make the playoffs that they're going to have a good rotation? I'd say hell no. But based off what these guys have done this year, I'm pretty confident. Severino this year, he's been great. He's definitely getting the nod in game 1 for the Mets against Milwaukee. I'm saying Milwaukee because I have a feeling we're going to be playing Milwaukee tomorrow night. But Severino, 31 starts this year, and everybody's been saying, and I said it even too, if, not to brag, but, I said, if Severino stays healthy, he will have a good year. I'm not saying he'll be an ace again, but he will have a good year for the Mets. And this year he had a good year for the Mets, 31 starts, 11-7, 3.91 ERA. And just like Peterson, he's been a guy who's actually been kind of in a little, all right, so his last start against Atlanta, 4 earned runs. That's obviously not good. But he's had games this year where he's been lights out. I mean, he's had complete games this year multiple times. And if you look back on his season, I'm trying to see if he faced Milwaukee at all this year. He did not. The only time he did face Milwaukee this year, and he let up 12 hits and 12 hits and 6 runs on March 30th. So that's not something that we want to see again from Sevy. But when you look at his game log, I mean, he's been a guy who's been consistent all year. He hasn't let up more than 4 earned runs since August. So that's good. That's good. And really, he's only let up more than 4 earned runs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A decent amount, actually. 8. All right, so 8 times. Only 8 times, though, in 31 starts. So that's actually pretty good. So Sevy, he's not the ace of the staff by any means, but he's a guy that has been dependable. And hopefully we can see him perform, because we're going to need him in game 1. It's only a 3-game series, so he's going to need to be lights out tomorrow night. And then Sean Manaea has been a freaking stud. I mean, since the second half of 2023 with the San Francisco Giants, people have really started to pay attention to Sean Manaea. And like, you look at his numbers this year, 32 starts. He's made the most starts this year by the Mets, and 3.47 ERA, 12-6 record, 181 innings, 184 strikeouts. Good for him, man. He's been a stud. Outside of his last start, he let up 5 earned runs against Milwaukee, and we all wanted to we were all panicking, like, oh no, this is it. This is the end. But against Philly on September 21st in a big game, he goes 7 innings, only allows 3 runs, really from 2 home runs allowed, only 3 hits allowed that whole entire game. But he's been a stud, man. He has been a stud. That 3.47 ERA, when you look at it, it's pretty good, especially when you factor in who he is. He's never been a guy who's been an ace, but this year hasn't been an ace, but he's probably been our best pitcher. Since David Peterson joined the rotation, I'd say Peterson's been the better pitcher, but Manaea, man, he's been lights out from day one, man, from day one. 32 starts this year. So you got to give him credit. And over 180 strikeouts, which is something we don't see a lot from Mets pitchers as of late. That's it in a transition year. That is a fact, Yuki. I am surprised that the Mets were. You tell me at the beginning of the year, though, that the Mets were going to make the postseason. I'd say, hell yeah, that's awesome. And then from there, I don't care what happens. But now, with this rotation, with this lineup, with Lindor playing like an MVP, I think the Mets can do more than just make the playoffs. I think they can have success in the playoffs. I'm not saying World Series, but what I'm saying is, yeah, World Series. I'm believing. I am believing in this team. I think they've been the hottest. Numbers don't lie, man. They have been the hottest team, the best team in baseball since June 1st. And Francisco Lindor is playing like an MVP. You look at his numbers, he's playing like an MVP. We got the starters that are pitching probably the best they've all pitched in their entire career outside of Luis Severino. David Peterson is pitching the best he's ever pitched in his career. Sean Manaea, same thing. Severino, he's pitching the best he's had in a long time. Jose Quintana, I think we've seen him pitch better, but I'm still confident in him. He's been having some good starts as of late as well. And the bullpen, Edwin Diaz, I don't think he'll be available tomorrow. If he is, great. Still kind of worried a little bit with him. He's been shaky at points this year. He definitely didn't have his best year this year, I will say. But the Mets have had dependable guys in the bullpen, so you do got to be confident. I'm hoping we don't really have to dip into them in this game, but Jose Butto, he's been a guy that you do want to see in the playoffs. In 30 games this year, Butto went 74 innings, 2.55 ERA, 79 Ks over those 74 innings. So Butto, he's going to be a guy that we're probably going to see a lot out of the bullpen in the playoffs. Reed Garrett, another guy who is phenomenal this year. 53 games, 3.77 ERA, 83 Ks across those 53 games. In the second half, he was kind of struggling a little bit, but he has been dependable this year. So we do want to see Reed Garrett this year a little bit. Matt, he kind of pitched today, so we're probably not going to see him. But with the Mets, he was pretty good. He was really good and successful year overall, even after getting traded to the Mets. 70 games this year, 3.39 ERA. So we're definitely going to see a lot of him. And then, of course, Edwin Diaz. And Diaz has had his moments this year where he has just looked like Edwin Diaz. He looked like the best closer in baseball. But then he had moments like today where he lets up 2 earned runs and we almost lose the game. But at the end of the day, you know what? You got to give him credit. He goes 1.2 innings and he gets the job done. And he even did it against Milwaukee just yesterday. 3 Ks over the inning. So you want to see that version of Edwin Diaz that we saw in the 9th inning of the game against Atlanta in the first game. And like we saw last night against Milwaukee. We don't want to see the Edwin Diaz like we saw in the 8th inning today. That's when we're going to panic. And if Diaz pitches tomorrow, he's a workhorse. And I wouldn't be surprised if he does. But if we can hold Edwin Diaz off, I would not mind. But when you look at the Mets, yes, it's a success that we're in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, I think we can now expect more. We have a great manager. We have an MVP player. We have a great rotation. We have a good closer. We have a decent enough bullpen. We have a good lineup. That's the makeup for a good team to have success in the playoffs. And it's about getting hot at the right time. And the Mets are that team. Surprisingly, the Mets are that team that is hot at the right time. And they have an MVP caliber player in Lindor. We have a great pitching staff. Let's do the work. Let's see what happens. Raise your expectations. It's been a successful season, yes. But I think there's more to achieve with the 2024 Mets than just a wild card berth. Only time will tell. We'll find out tomorrow against Milwaukee probably. But you got to be excited if you're a Mets fan. Shout out to all those guys. Francisco Lindor especially having a career year. He's not going to win the MVP, quite frankly, but he will finish second right behind Ohtani. And if Ohtani was still in the American League, Lindor would undoubtedly be the MVP. You take him off the Mets, Mets don't make the playoffs. We've said it all year. Every Met fan has said, you take Lindor off the Mets and they don't make the playoffs. And literally, if Lindor wasn't in the lineup in the 161st game of the Mets season this year, well, then they don't make the playoffs. So there we go. Scientific experiment right there. All right, let's switch it up. Oh yeah, Yuki. I'm pumped, man. I'm gonna go get some playoff merch after this. I think probably at least a shirt, man. I gotta rock it to work tomorrow. I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped up. Tomorrow night, action starts. Let's see what time we got that game tomorrow before we do wrap it up. 5:32. Whew. I got work, unfortunately. I would not mind winning this game, so I do get to watch game one. And then even game two, man. 7:30 on Wednesday. I'll be at work. Whew. All right. Well, let's keep winning, because if the Mets keep winning, then I'll get more opportunities to watch them. And I'm definitely getting off. If the Mets make the World Series, I'll have to request off. They'll understand. All right, let's switch it up a little bit. Let's talk about these Yankees. Yankees, they're going to be facing the winner of the Orioles wild card series. Hopefully they probably want to face the Royals, because the Orioles have just had their number these past few years. But it doesn't matter. The Yankees, the Mets, where I think we should add to the expectations, the Yankees, they have those expectations. They have World Series expectations. And I picked the Yankees at the beginning of the year. And really, once they got Soto, I was like, this team is winning the World Series, and they should win the World Series. Because like I said, Garrett Cole is not getting any younger. Aaron Judge is not getting any younger. We don't know how long Juan Soto will be in pinstripes. We don't know all these things. So this is the year. Aaron Boone, it's this year or you're done. Because if the Yankees don't win a World Series this year, if they don't make the World Series, you can kiss Aaron Boone goodbye. And I know Yankees fans would not have a problem with that. So there's a lot of things looming for the Yankees this year. And I think this is it. This is their year to lose. It's not their year to win necessarily, but it's certainly their year to lose. They're the ones that traded for Juan Soto going into a year where his contract's going to be expiring. So they didn't even lock him up yet, so they might not get him back no matter what happens. Aaron Judge, he's not getting any younger. Garrett Cole, he's not getting any younger. And Aaron Judge, he's not just like Lindor isn't having an MVP caliber season, but Aaron Judge, since 2022, I feel like he's turned into he's always been a great talented elite player. Since 2022, he's been a generational talent. Like, he's been that good over a consistent stretch for 3 straight years now. 322 batting average, 1.159 OPS, and you hit 58 home runs, 144 RBIs. That is insane. Imagine what he would do in the steroid era. He'd have like 120 home runs. All right, but all jokes aside, when you have Aaron Judge, when you have Garrett Cole, when you have Juan Soto, the expectation should be to win the World Series. Oh, and you guys also traded for another star named Jazz Chisholm Jr., who you got to give him credit to. Since he joined the Yankees, he's been he's taken another step forward. He's been turning into the player that people have been wanting him to turn into for a long time. 273 batting average, 825 OPS, and 11 home runs in his stint with the Yankees. I believe it's across a 47-game stretch. So Jazz has been good. So you got Jazz, you got Judge, you got Soto, Stanton, who's been a successful postseason hitter before. You got 4 legit power hitters. The Yankees got expectations, man. They do. They 100% do. And they got an ace. You got an ace who can shove in Garrett Cole. Outside of starts against the Red Sox and the Mets, Garrett Cole is shoved. So for some reason, and guess what? He's not going to be facing the Mets unless the Mets make the World Series and they make the World Series. And he's not facing the Red Sox in the playoffs. So Garrett Cole should be able to be Garrett Cole in the playoffs. You got to expect him to be. But we don't know outside of Garrett Cole. Carlos Rodon, I mean, great year he's had in some kind of form. Definitely a lot of wins, but, his ERA is ballooned up there. So you do got to be worried about him a little bit. Clark Schmidt, I'd say he's going to get a nod in that postseason rotation. But then, I don't know. Is Louis Gill going to get one? I don't know. Marcus Stroman probably going to remain in the bullpen. I mean, he's been terrible. In his last 15 games, he has a 5.79 ERA. So the Yankees definitely do have questions because of their pitching. Their pitching stinks outside of Garrett Cole and Clark Schmidt even. I mean, I want to say he's been good. His numbers overall have been good all year, but in these past few games, he's been kind of shaky. And he's also coming off an injury, so you can't knock him too much. And he's not supposed to be the number 2 of this team. Carlos Rodon is supposed to be the undoubtedly best, not best pitcher, but number 2 pitcher right behind Garrett Cole. He's getting paid to do that, but he's just not. Marcus Stroman, he's been terrible in the second half. He had a great start to the year, but now he's been terrible. Like I said before, a 5.79 ERA in 15 games. You don't even want that guy coming out of the bullpen. Let's be real. So it's really just Garrett Cole that you can depend on. So the Yankees, if they don't win the World Series, there's got to be some serious question to ask. Like, Aaron Boone, is he the manager for the team? Brian Cashman, is he the general manager for the team? Like, there's going to be some serious questions. Aaron Judge, of course, stays. Do you want to bring back Juan Soto? Or do you just bite the bullet and say, hey, it's not what we needed. Thanks to my dog for jumping and hitting the camera, man. But you messed it up too much. But yeah, it's going to be interesting if the Yankees don't win the World Series. So they better win the World Series because Aaron Judge, like I said, he ain't getting any younger. Garrett Cole's not. And Juan Soto, we don't know how long he's going to be a Yankee. So there's going to be a lot of people watching. The Yankees have the highest expectations, I'd say. Outside of the Dodgers, they have the highest expectations in the playoffs. So that's what happens when you have Aaron Judge. And, Aaron Boone, could this be his last chance? I think it definitely is. If he does not get to the World Series, he's gone. He's gone. If they win the World Series and get to the World Series, if they win the World Series, he's undoubtedly getting his job back. If he makes the World Series, I'd say it's a question mark. But if they don't win the pennant this year in the American League, he's gone. He's gone. But speaking of people who need to perform in the playoffs, not just Aaron Boone. He don't need to get his Yankees to the World Series, but Aaron Judge, 211 batting average in his playoff career. He's been awful. That's been awful, and it needs to change. We've been giving him a pass because he's been phenomenal in the regular season, but now, if the Yankees want to win the World Series, it's simple. Aaron Judge. It is simple as that. He is that good of a player. He's the reason that the Orioles are able to win 91 games and not win the AL East. He's the reason because he's Aaron Judge. He's a generational talent. So he needs that memorable postseason right now. He needs the ring. If he wants to be an all-time great, an all-time New York sports, an all-time Yankee, he needs a ring. He's done it all in the regular season. He's going to be a 2-time MVP after this year. He's had another season where he's hit over 50 home runs, 58 this year with a 1.159 OPS and 144 RBIs while hitting over 320, which is insane. So Judge is great, yes, in the regular season, but in the playoffs, a 211 batting average. That's not going to cut it. Judge needs to perform this postseason. We've given him a pass. It can't be, Soto does great and Jazz does great and Stanton does great and Judge is kind of slacking. And even if the Yankees are winning while that's happening, that's still unacceptable for Aaron Judge. It is time for Judge to do the work in the playoffs. We've seen him do it so many times in the regular season, but guess what? It's not about the regular season for the New York Yankees. Yankees do not get remembered for having great regular seasons. They get remembered for having great playoffs and winning rings. Derek Jeter has World Series rings. A-Rod, World Series rings. These are just recent all-time greats. Mariano Rivera, World Series rings. I mean, they got 27 World Series championships, and they haven't won one since 2009. You have the best hitter on the planet. He is better than Shohei Ohtani. I don't care Ohtani's going 50-50. Judge is a better hitter than Ohtani. You have an ace. Arguably, when he's at his best, he's the best pitcher in the game in Garrett Cole. So this is the year for the Yankees. So if they don't win, Aaron Boone, bye. Brian Cashman, bye. I know fans sometimes overreact, but the fans aren't overreacting. If they cannot win, it's because of those two guys. Because the pitching rotation is not good. That's the only alarming part of this team, and that is on Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman. So We'll see who the Yankees face in the playoffs. Hopefully it's not the Orioles, but even if it is, they have to get by them. And Aaron Judge needs a postseason that Yankees fans can remember. All right, we're going to take a little break. We're going to get into some football, and then we're going to wrap it up with the Knicks. But yeah, man, Mets are in. Yankees clinch the AL East. Playoffs start tomorrow. Wow. It's come quick. It's come quick. All right, we'll be right back, guys. Right back. Thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on X, by the way, why not hop over to YouTube? But if you want to keep watching on X, I don't mind. All right, I'll see you guys in a second. One guy who's been a lot more consistent than he was last year, who I want to get into on the offensive end, Anthony Volpe. I mean, he's living up to the hype that he had last year. Obviously, he performed well on the defensive side, capturing that Gold Glove award, hitting over 20 home runs. But this season, a little bit less home runs, but the batting average has seen an increase. The on-base percentage has seen an increase. And then obviously his speed on the base paths always kills opposing teams. So what do you think Anthony Volpe is doing differently this year than last that he's seen so much more success from?
Yeah, well, first in the field, he's always been great defender. So I don't think there was much to improve there. But on the offensive side, I think he's really just trying to hit the ball the other way more, be more consistent, make more solid contact. And he's been able to do it. I love when you try to make adjustments, you realize what was working, what wasn't working, and you make an adjustment in the offseason, and you come back, and it works. That's something you love to see. So he's been definitely, obviously, with the higher average and getting on base more. But when you look at the actual mechanics of the swing, he's leveling out a little bit more. The bat path is more through the zone. He's not trying to pull the ball as much and lift it. It seems like the home runs come, but he's able to really go with the pitch the other way. And that's what you need. Out of this offense, the way it's structured, if you have a guy like that at the top of the lineup getting on base, you have Juan Soto to follow, Aaron Judge to follow. Those guys are the ones who are going to really drive the ball even more in the air. But you have a guy like Volpe who could at least get on base with a single or just tap one to the opposite field, kind of like Jeter in a way where he had that inside-out swing. It helps out so much. So just understanding the lineup, how it's constructed, and then seeing how he's been able to make adjustments to then fit that lineup even better. That's why I think the Yankees have been pretty solid on the offensive side, at least with the first half of the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, Aaron Judge, he has insane numbers, and we're going to get into him in a little bit. His last 50 games, he has 55 RBIs, and I think, like you alluded to, a big part of that is because Volpe is doing such a great job hitting in front of those guys. I feel like he's kind of realized, okay, I got two of the best hitters in baseball right behind me. All I got to do is get on base, and they can do the rest. Like you said, Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, they're going to clean up in that lineup. So I think it's been great for Volpe to kind of change his ways. Like you said, those adjustments that he made over the offseason, they're really paying off, not just for him, but for the team overall. I think that's he's been a big reason, and I think an underrated piece on this team. I mean, obviously Juan Soto and Aaron Judge, and now Garrett Cole coming back, and even Louis Hill is the story, but Anthony Volpe at the top of that lineup doing what he was kind of drafted to do, I think is awesome, and especially him being a Yankee fan growing up, it just makes it even better.
Yeah. No, it's exciting to see, and obviously everyone's pulling for the guy, and Anthony's a Jersey guy. He's been around here for a while, and everyone wants to support him. And just seeing how he's been able to interact with the team and bring them up, it's awesome to see because there's a lot of hype. Look, there's a lot of pressure, not only in New York with the Yankees, but if you're somebody with the kind of prospect hype, you could easily fall into that trap. You look at any team, any of your top prospects, their heads are being blown up. Everyone's sending them stuff. They're being hyped up all the time. But you need to know how to regulate that and know how to handle your emotions and handle those distractions. And that's the key, I think, to playing in New York. If you can't handle that, it's going to be difficult. But if you can, like he's been able to, it obviously it could definitely pay off.
Yeah. And now I think he's really been seeing great success because, like you said, he's comfortable. We're back. All right, let's get back into this. Looks like the Mets are going to end up playing the Brewers tomorrow. So 6:35 tomorrow night. Luis Severino taking the bump. So that's going to be a big one. Yeah, playoff baseball in New York starts tomorrow. It's that quick. That quick. Season wraps up today. And it's actually 5:32 tomorrow. So we're going to be facing Freddie Peralta. Freddie Peralta this year, he's been pretty good. In 32 games this year, 3.68 ERA, 11-9, 200 strikeouts across 173.2 innings of work. So the Mets, we're going to be facing a good pitcher, a good Brewers team. The Brewers, it looks like we could definitely beat them. We could definitely beat them, and we should. But they are a good team. Like, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'd rather face the Brewers than the Padres. But at the end of the day, the Brewers, 93-69. They're division winners. Like, we didn't win our division. We didn't win 90 games. So, let's see what happens. They got guys on this team. Rhys Hoskins, who kills the Mets. He plays for the Brewers. So, I know this year he sucked, kind of, 214 batting average, 26 home runs, big whoop. But Rhys Hoskins, he does kill the Mets, so got to watch out for him. William Contreras, he's also a great player for the Brewers this year. He's a 281 hitter, 831 OPS, 23 home runs in 155 games. Then you also got to factor in Willie Adams, who's also up there with Lindor as one of the best shortstops in the league. 32 home runs this year from Willie Adams. So, yeah, they got guys. And Christian Yelich is still hurt, so we're not going to see him. But if he was playing, you definitely got to watch out for him. But, outside of Freddie Peralta, that's their downfall. They don't really have pitching. Tobias Myers has been pretty good this year for him in 25 starts this year. He's got a 3 ERA with 9-6 record. But outside of those two, they haven't been really well. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night in game 1, but got to keep your fingers crossed because the Brewers, like I said before, they're a 93-win team. We're not a 90-win team. So we can't just say that, oh, we're happy we're facing the Brewers. No, we're not happy that we're facing them. And we're just happy that we're in the playoffs, okay? Beat whoever you face. That's it. And I do think we're the better team. We're hot at the right time right now. Best team in the league since June 1st. So get the job done, Mets. Get the job done. All right, let's wrap it up and get to the New York Jets, baby. All right, the Jets sucked again. The Jets are back to sucking. 2-2 on the year, and quite frankly, I think after our first 6 games, we're going to be 2-4 because we got Minnesota this Sunday in London, and then we got Buffalo week 6. So I think that means we're 2-4 because Sammy Darnold and the Vikings are on fire, and the Jets, it was embarrassing. How do you lose to Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos and they only scored 10 points? I get the defense let up a lot of rushing yards, but at the end of the day, the defense only allowed 10 points. The defense controlled they made Bo Nix look like the worst quarterback of all time. Of all time. At least in the first half. And you have a 4-time MVP quarterback. 13 penalties are committed. That is terrible. And Aaron Rodgers didn't even look bad. He looked good. He did look good. He was throwing on the run like he did. But you know what happened? Garrett Wilson isn't playing well. Him and Robert Saleh, they don't seem to be on the same page. The offensive line was terrible. Rodgers got sacked 5 times. 13 penalties were committed. The Jets were sloppy, and that is on the head coach, Robert Saleh. Is Robert Saleh a championship coach? I don't think he is. Is he the guy that's going to get the Jets to a Super Bowl? Is he the guy that's going to get the Jets to the playoffs? What is going on, guys? Defensively, Robert Saleh, yes, one of the best minds in football. His defenses are phenomenal. But he's not just a defensive coordinator. He is a head coach. You have Aaron Rodgers. Figure it out. But it's not just him. It's not just Robert Saleh. Because I'm not saying Rodgers is being he's not doing anything wrong, but Rodgers is doing the least wrong for sure. But Garrett Wilson, we need to see him get going. Going into this year, I had very high expectations for this guy. And he's crap in the bed right now. Right now, he's averaging less than 50 yards a game, only 1 touchdown through his first 4 games. We need to see Garrett Wilson do Garrett Wilson things. He's playing his worst football with a 4-time MVP quarterback. How is that possible? Right now, only 191 yards, 20 receptions in 4 games. This is not good. This is not good. Mike Williams had a better game than him on Sunday. Al Lazard, he's got three receiving touchdowns on the year. We saw Tyler Conklin have a big game with Rodgers, but we have yet to see Garrett Wilson and Rodgers explode. And that is a problem. That is alarming. I mean, we see even in week 3, Garrett Wilson committing bonehead penalties. So something's got to click for them to get going. I don't know what needs to happen, but something needs to happen for them to get going. Robert Saleh, I'd say he's 100% on the hot seat. If they lose these next 2 games, you got to let him go because the Vikings are beatable. The Bills are beatable. And quite frankly, when you have this type of defense and you have Rodgers, you have a great O-line, and you have Garrett Wilson, you should not be committing 15 penalties against a team like the Denver Broncos. You should just be wiping them away. We should have been 3-1 heading into week 4. Into week 5, potentially with a chance to go 4-1 going into a crucial spot against the Bills with a chance to take the lead in the division. But now we're a 2-2 team. Fans are losing confidence. Players are probably losing confidence. We're coming off a terrible, embarrassing loss to a terrible Broncos team and a terrible quarterback. I mean, we only scored 9 points. That is embarrassing. And then after the game, the head coach and Aaron Rodgers, they're not on the same page. One guy's saying we need to dial it down. And then one guy's saying, oh, no, we just need to hold people accountable. So clearly, they're not on the same page. And in most cases, I'd say I don't want Aaron Rodgers to be calling the shots for the Jets. But when Robert Saleh is the head coach, I kind of trust Rodgers a little bit more than this guy. So everything's going wrong for the Jets right now. If they win these next 2 games, story changes. But they have a very good shot at I can just see it already. Sammy Darnold and the 4-0 Vikings, they continue their undefeated season against the Jets in London. Sam Darnold against his former team that gave up on him. He goes out there and he puts together this MVP caliber season through the first 5 weeks. And Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, they can't figure things out. So Jets. And then the Bills, they beat us too. I mean, we do have a shot. The Bills just lost their second game of the season just last night against the Baltimore Ravens. So we can beat the Vikings and we can beat the Bills and we can still take the lead in the AFC East. But if we don't, Robert Saleh needs to go. It's that simple. That simple. You can't. 13 penalties. That's what killed the Jets. That's what lost the Jets the game. And even the missed field goal at the end. Rodgers put the Jets in the position to win the game. They just couldn't get the job done. Speaking of not scoring touchdowns, Giants, they couldn't score a touchdown. Daniel Jones, he played great. He played great in week 4 against the Cowboys, 29-40, 281 yards. And I want to lead off with Daniel Jones talking Giants right now because, Colin Cowherd was talking about it last week. Go look it up if you haven't seen the clip. Colin Cowherd, Daniel Jones, he was saying that the Giants are a quarterback away. And usually he doesn't make sense, but he made sense for the first time. If the Giants had a quarterback like Josh Allen, even like just a top 10 quarterback, you'd say, hey, the Giants, they have a great quarterback with a great left tackle, with a great young receiver, with a great defensive line, with a great offensive mind coach. Like, the Giants are in a position to go to the playoffs, but they have Daniel Jones as their quarterback and they're not putting the ball in the end zone. But at the same time, when you watch Thursday Night Football, there was a lot of passes that were dropped that were not on Daniel Jones. And Daniel Jones had a great game at the end of the day. But there was no rushing attack for the Giants in week 4. And his receivers were not helping him at all. At all. So I think I need to see more to give up on Jones. And I know that's sad because Jones gets opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. And at the end of the day, I think if they had a Josh Allen, yeah, the Giants would have won that game. But there's only one Josh Allen. There's only one Pat Mahomes. After Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen, there's a significant drop-off with every other quarterback in the NFL. Well, besides Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, he's kind of in their mix. It's Pat Mahomes, very big drop-off to Josh Allen, slightly lower drop-off to Lamar. Lamar's right there with Josh Allen, actually, I'd say. They're right on an even playing field. And then after that, very low after that. And you got Herbert. And then really, maybe Joe Burrow. He's off to a terrible start as well. But, yeah, the G-Men, I don't think they're necessarily a quarterback away because Jones was throwing the ball very good in week 4. Just a lot of crucial drops, and that's what haunted the Giants. Jones played great. He did play great. And the defense is continuing to impress. Kayvon Thibodeau, he was kind of wrecking. He was a wrecking force a little bit in week 4. He did get another sack. So in his last 2 weeks, he's starting to really impress. And listen, the Giants, I've said it going into this season, they have a makeup of a good defense. And when you look at them on paper, they have a great defense. Azeez Ojulari, who might be on the trade block sometime soon now, but they do have him right now, and he's a good edge rusher. You got Kayvon Thibodeau, you got Brian Burns, you got Bobby Okereke, obviously Dexter Lawrence, who's a stud. You really need to kind of improve that secondary just a slight bit, but other than that, the Giants' defense is good. So, I think they're a little bit better than everybody expected after the first 2 games. Getting that win against the Browns definitely helped. And then, they only lost 20-15 against a very good Cowboys football team. Everybody's knocking the Cowboys, but at the end of the day, the Cowboys, they are 2-2. Dak Prescott is a very good quarterback. Everybody ribs Dak for some reason. I don't know why, but the Cowboys, they had a terrible loss in week 2, but they did business against the Browns 33-17 in week 1. Barely lost to the Ravens, only lost by 3. So they are a good football team, and the Giants barely lost. So you got to give them credit. At the end of the day, what needs to happen? They need to catch the ball. And if they caught the ball in those spots, I think Daniel Jones would have had a better opportunity to put the ball in the end zone. So we'll see what happens. Malik Neighbors, he did suffer a concussion. So let's talk about that, and then we'll wrap the Giants up, and we'll get into the Knicks a little bit. But right now, as it looks, he will be playing in week 5, it looks like. But he did take a mean concussion. But Malik Neighbors, I think he is a top 5 receiver in the NFL already. I'll say that right now. I mean, when you look at him right now, week 4, 115 yards. Against Cleveland, 78 yards. Against Washington, 127. Against Minnesota, 66. Against Houston, 54. So on the year, he's already got 386 yards. He's averaging 96.5 yards per game. Let's see where he is. Most receiving yards this season. Malik Neighbors is second in the NFL with 386 receiving yards, only behind Nico Collins with 489. So he has more receiving yards than Justin Jefferson. And Justin Jefferson, I'd say, like, oh, yeah, he doesn't have Kirk Cousins anymore, but now he has Sam Darnold, who's turning into an MVP caliber quarterback now that he's not on the Jets. Of course, that's what happens. But Malik Neighbors, he's up there. I would even make the case that he's a top 3 wide receiver. I mean, he's doing this with Daniel Jones. He's doing this with Daniel Jones, guys. I don't think Daniel Jones is the guy, but Malik Neighbors, he is the guy. And whoever the Giants' next starting QB is, if they are good and they are the guy, Malik Neighbors could just end up saving Daniel Jones. He could save him. He could make Daniel Jones the guy. Who knows? But what I do know for sure is Malik Neighbors, he might just be the second best wide receiver in football. I would say he's the third best right now. Like, I really believe he's the third best wide receiver, only behind Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. And that's it. I think he's better than Tyreek Hill. Because I think Tyreek Hill a few years ago, I'd say clears maybe even all of those guys. But now at this point in his career, I think Malik Neighbors has a higher upside right now. And I think he's going to be a top 3 wide receiver for a long time with Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. So, yeah, that's that. Giants, I mean, when you look at their upcoming opponents, obviously it's not looking too well for the Giants. But at the end of the day, you're not really expecting much out of this football team. The only thing you're looking at is, can Malik Neighbors continue to be a stud? But they're going to be facing the 3-0 Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks playing tonight, 8:15. Are they going to be undefeated 4-0 headed into this game? Who knows? But they're going to be playing at the 4:25 slot. Giants right now are the underdogs by 6 points. It's a winnable game. It is a winnable game. It is a winnable game. So I do think the Giants are going to win this game actually against the Seahawks, and I do think they're going to be 2-3. And then against the Bengals, I mean, the Bengals, they've been meh. I mean, the Panthers put up a 24 spot on them, so we don't know really who the Bengals are. Burrow's been playing great. 9 touchdowns on the year, only 1 pick. 7 touchdowns on the year, only 1 pick. But outside of that, the Bengals have struggled, especially their defense. Eagles, they're not the same old Eagles that they were a few years ago when they made the Super Bowl. The Steelers, they're 3-1 right now, but who knows? Commanders, they look kind of great right now, actually. Jaden Daniels plays. He's a good quarterback right now. I think he's got high upside. But yeah, the Giants, I think they might be able to sneak like a 500 record by their bye week. I think they can beat the Seahawks. That'll put them at 2-3. Bengals, I think they'll be 2-4. I think they can beat the Eagles 3-4. Steelers, I think they'll go 3-5, but I think the Commanders, they got to split the series, so they'll take that 4-5. And Panthers, I think they can beat. I think they can be 5-5 by week 11. And then from there, they got the Bucks, Cowboys, Saints, Ravens, Falcons, Colts, and Eagles. So who knows? Who knows? 5-5. They can. The Bucks do look good. Baker Mayfield's having a great year. I'm not gonna lie. So, but they can beat the Cowboys. They can beat the Cowboys. Who knows what the Giants can do? But it's weird because do you want to tank and get rid of Jones, or do you really want to see what Jones can do? Because if Jones can make the playoffs this year, maybe he is the guy. Maybe you get a few more additions to that offensive line, so it's not just a really good left tackle, but you have a really good left tackle and a really good right tackle and a really good center and 2 good guards. That would be great. The best teams in the league have that. Chiefs, they have a great offensive line. They protect Pat Mahomes very well, especially over these. That's why they're 4-0 this year. Lamar Jackson, he's for some reason, that could just be he's mobile. But best teams usually have an offensive line. So the offensive line has been decent for the Giants. I'll say that. But they can definitely get some more. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I think the Giants do get a win, though, in week 5 and improve to 2-3 on the year. Even though the Seahawks are pretty good, undefeated right now, I think they're a beatable team. And the Giants, with Malik Neighbors being a top 3 receiver in football already, anything's possible. Anything's possible. All right. Weird comment there. I don't know. But let's, I want to say this. So if you guys are watching on X, we're going to talk some Knicks right now. But if you guys are watching on X, I would really appreciate it. We could really get some more guys in here. If you like and retweet this, I would really appreciate that. If you like and retweet this, maybe I'll do a giveaway or something. Who knows? Should I do a giveaway? How about this? We'll make a deal. If I can get 15 retweets, we got 69 people watching this on X right now. So if we can get 15 of you to retweet this, out of the 15 of you, Let's see. We'll give away this Gary Sheffield autograph for 500 home. It's a 500 home run. Gary Sheffield today, 500 home run. So if you want it, retweet it. We'll do a giveaway. So it'll be off this, and I'll send it to someone. Just got to send me your email and your address, and I'll swing it over to you. So 15 retweets, though, is what it'll take for me to give that ball away. And you know what? We'll do this. 50 out of the 70 people do it. The 50th retweet will get a Jacob deGrom autograph. This one right here. And I'm dead serious. All right, but the Knicks, man, I was a little upset that the Knicks did trade away Dante DiVincenzo and Julius Randle. I mean, I did a whole entire live reaction to it. Go watch it if you didn't see it. My gut reaction was, oh, man, we're losing Devo. But at the end of the day, I had a few days to sleep on it. We have Karl Anthony freaking Towns, guys. Karl Anthony Towns' career stats, 22.9 points per game, 10.8 rebounds per game, 40% from deep, 52% from the field. Cat is an all-NBA caliber player. Cat is going to go toe-to-toe with Joel Embiid, with Giannis, at least on the offensive end. I'm not saying he's going to have to guard these guys and play lock-up defense on these guys, but he's going to match up with them on the offensive end. Cat is a great offensive big. He's a great offensive shooter. He's got range. He can knock down threes. That's perfect. The pick and pop with Jalen Brunson, that's going to do wonders. So you got Cat and Jalen Brunson now. That duo is a lot better than Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle. And Devo, losing him sucks. It does suck. I will admit that. But there's reports suggesting that he wanted more playing time. He will get that with Minnesota. I'm not sure he'll start right away, but he might be able to start by the end of the year like he did with the Knicks. If there's a few injuries that pop up or he plays really well off the bench, he'll definitely get a promotion, but only time will tell. But at the end of the day, we lose Devo, we lose Randall, we get Cat. I think that makes, like Bobby Marks of ESPN, he even said it. The Knicks on paper, they have the best starting five. Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, McCall Bridges, OG Anunoby are going to lock up any wing. Josh Hart can really guard 1 through 5. Karl Anthony Towns, and then Mitchell Robinson. Who knows what's going to happen with him? I think they're going to end up trading him. But we definitely need another big for off the bench. I don't want Jericho Sims playing. But if Cat's going to be the center and that's our starting five, that's a great starting five. And that might be the best starting five on paper in the NBA. Because Jalen Brunson, we all know he's a superstar. Karl Anthony Towns, playing in New York. We saw it. It's cliche to say it, but Brunson, being a Knicks fan, being a hometown kid, growing up a Knicks fan, he elevated his play in the Garden. Karl Anthony Towns, you look at his numbers in Madison Square Garden, he's ridiculous. So now that he's going to be playing in the Garden the majority of the games, who knows? He'll have that elevation. He'll have that maybe a little bit more hustle playing with Tom Thibodeau as well. And maybe that, the Villanova 3 now will rub off on him, that energy. And McCall Bridges, he's not too shabby on the offensive end either. And defensively, Bridges and Anunoby, that's perfect for when we play teams like the Boston Celtics with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So the Knicks are looking good going into this year. You got to really say these guys are finals contenders. If they don't make the Eastern Conference Finals, it's going to be an upsetting season. But the Knicks 100% have the best starting five in the NBA. But there is a problem. They don't have a bench. They have Miles McBride, who I do trust off the bench 100%. Tyler Kolek, who's a rookie. I don't want to see him play that much, to be honest, just yet. But at the end of the day, he is definitely an intriguing prospect. Campaign, I do like that signing. And then Marcus Morris, who I really don't want to see that much either. He's he's a dependable veteran, but at the end of the day, I don't want to see him in the playoff rotation. But I want to see, this team's definitely got to add some guys. We need another big because Mitchell Robinson is out at least until November or December. He's going to be out at least the first month of the season. So we need another big, even if we keep Mitchell Robinson. But there are reports suggesting that Mitchell Robinson could get traded. So that remains to be seen. But we need another big man. Like I said before, I don't want Jericho Sims coming in for the Knicks next year at all. So, but the Knicks, man, with Karl Anthony Towns, yes, I do think they have the best starting five. I had a few days to sleep on it. I love it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you guys are watching on X, make sure you hit like, make sure you hit retweet. And yeah, I would really appreciate it. Like I said, we get 50 retweets. Someone's getting the DeGrom one. And if we get 15, I'm going to give a random someone from the 15 the Gary Sheffield autograph. All right, let's go Mets. Tomorrow night, 5:35, we got the Milwaukee Brewers in Milwaukee. Playoff baseball in New York. Well, not in New York, but for New York. Starts tomorrow, baby. Let's go Mets. All right.